My name is Elise, and I'm a homemaker. I met my husband, Caleb, through work, and our relationship eventually led to marriage. Life with him has been smooth sailing, and we rarely have any issues. I've often heard that dealing with in-laws can be challenging, particularly sisters-in-law, but I never had that problem. Caleb's sister, Judith, and I got along wonderfully. We would often go shopping together and even take trips. On the other hand, my relationship with my own sister, Elodie, wasn't great. In fact, I sometimes wish Judith could have been my real sister instead. But one year, tragedy struck. Judith passed away due to an illness. When I heard the news, I was devastated. I couldn't eat, and I cried endlessly until the day of the funeral. That morning, Caleb had gone ahead to the funeral home, but suddenly he called me with an urgent tone. "Don't come to the funeral. Go straight to your parents' house." "I'll explain later," he said firmly. Confused and hurt, I followed his instructions. When I arrived at my parents' house, they were startled to see me. "Elise, isn't Judith's funeral today? Why are you here?" my mother asked. Looking distressed, I explained what Caleb had told me. My father frowned and let out a sigh. "That makes sense. We just got a strange phone call from someone claiming to be one of Caleb's relatives. They accused you of being a terrible person and even threatened to burn our house down unless we paid them compensation. We assumed it was some kind of scam or prank." My father paused, then added, "Something serious must be going on. Let's wait for Caleb to explain." Just then, Caleb arrived, still dressed in his mourning attire, his face pale and tense. He bowed deeply before speaking. "I'm so sorry for what my relatives have done. I don't think they've come here yet, but just in case, we should go to the police." His words didn't immediately make sense to me. He was out of breath, so I helped him calm down before asking for details. "Caleb, what's going on? Why can't I go to the funeral?" Taking a deep breath, he hesitated before saying, "Judith left a suicide note, and it was filled with accusations against you." "What?" I gasped, stunned. "The note says things like, 'Elise told me to die, and she was abusive toward me. It even calls for revenge against you.' Some of my relatives took it seriously and are now demanding an outrageous amount of money as compensation. They also know where your parents live, so we need to get out of here and go to the police." I felt my legs give out, and I nearly collapsed at the doorstep. My mother rushed to support me. "This doesn't make sense. Judith would never say such things. I never did anything to hurt her." Caleb gently rubbed my shoulders, trying to comfort me. "I know, Elise. It's all lies. My mother never liked you. There's a good chance she changed the contents of the note. Judith always spoke about you like you were her real sister." "I don't believe a word of it," he assured me. Still, I couldn't shake the question from my mind. Could a suicide note really be altered that easily? Even with my limited legal knowledge, I knew tampering with such a document would be a serious crime. "We don't have time to dwell on this. My relatives are already making threats. We have to leave now," Caleb insisted. Following his lead, we left my parents' house and went straight to the police station. I provided them with a recording of the threatening phone call, along with a video I had secretly taken on my phone at the funeral home. In the footage, my mother-in-law had dramatically read aloud a message that seemed suspicious, causing an uproar among the attendees. The police took the matter seriously but explained that since no actual harm had been done yet, they could only increase patrols around the area and monitor the situation. Though I still felt uneasy, I was somewhat relieved knowing the authorities were involved. But just as I started to relax, something happened that shattered my sense of security. As Caleb parked the car in front of my parents' house, we heard a commotion at the door. Approaching cautiously, I saw two middle-aged strangers, a man and a woman, shouting furiously. "This is your fault," one of them screamed. I froze. My sister, Elodie, was standing there, her cheek red from being slapped. My father's beloved golf club lay broken on the ground, and shattered pieces of vases and ornaments were scattered across the floor. It was clear that Caleb's relatives had stormed into my parents' house while we were at the police station. "Uncle, Aunt, my wife didn't do anything," Caleb shouted. "You just assaulted her sister. I'm calling the police." His words seemed to startle them for a moment. "Wait, her sister?" the woman mumbled, looking at Elodie in shock. Realizing they had attacked the wrong person, their anger flared up again. Without an ounce of remorse, The man gripped the broken golf club tighter and turned toward me. You think you can trick us with a stand-in? We know the truth. Judith suffered because of you. She wrote everything in her note. He spat. Before he could step any closer, my father stormed forward, grabbing his wrist in a firm grip. You think you can just waltz into my house, threaten my family, and attack my daughter? My father growled. I had never seen him so furious before, and it sent a chill down my spine. The confrontation escalated until the police arrived and took Caleb's uncle and aunt into custody. Elise, are you all right? My father asked gently. I was still in shock from everything that had happened, but his words brought me back to reality. I'm sorry, Elodie. You got hurt because of me, I said, rushing to my injured sister. My father, looking weary, asked my mother for an ice pack. As he gently handed it to my sister, he sighed. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you, especially with your wedding coming up. Elodie took the ice pack from him and pressed it to her cheek. It's not your fault. You're quiet and introverted, but you're a decent person. And you got along well with Judith. Then with a smirk, she added, besides, this is physical damage, right? I can sue them and make some money. She said it so casually, but I wondered if she was just acting tough for my sake. Seeing how she believed in me despite the false accusations reassured me. That's why I couldn't forgive my uncle and aunt for hurting her, or myself for letting it happen. That night, Caleb told me, I'll go get evidence. Stay here and let me know if anything happens. He left for his parents' house while I anxiously waited. But it seemed that word had spread about my uncle and aunt's violent outburst, and no one else came to bother us. Later, a meeting was arranged at Caleb's parents' house. My parents, Elodie, Caleb, his parents, and several relatives, including my uncle and aunt, gathered in the spacious living room. My uncle and aunt had seemingly reconsidered their stance, but they still clung to their delusion of being in the right. If you just admit to what's written in the suicide note, we'll drop everything. We won't even press charges, my uncle said smugly. Elodie, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. Oh, is that so? She asked, barely glancing up from her phone. My uncle shot her an irritated glare. She continued in the same indifferent tone. Then, if you pay me $330,000, I'll drop my charges too. You get me hard enough to affect my work, and there's also the damage to my dad's golf club and my mom's vases. My uncle's face turned red with anger. What? You're making ridiculous demands over a single slap. You two sisters are shameless. He then lashed out at my parents. You should be ashamed of raising daughters like this. My mother, remaining composed, replied, both of them are adults. They're speaking for themselves, not as children needing our protection. Isn't it natural to respond to rudeness with rudeness? Do you even understand the fear and pain of being attacked out of nowhere? Elodie yawned, completely unbothered. That's not even the main issue. The real problem is the suicide note. It was likely altered, which led to all of this nonsense. At that, Caleb turned to his mother. So, Mom, was it you? His mother, who had been fidgeting, flinched visibly. Well, I'm getting old, you know. My memory is a little fuzzy, she said with an awkward laugh. Ignoring her, Caleb pulled out a piece of paper. This is Judith's real suicide note. Silence fell over the room. Mom wrote in her diary where she hid it. I found it. The note she showed everyone, the one that accused Elias, was a fake. She altered it to frame my wife and then read it aloud at the funeral, deceiving everyone. He exhaled sharply, his disappointment evident. Mom, you even wrote in your diary that you wished Judith's illness had happened to Elise instead. I can't see you as my mother anymore. His mother finally broke down in tears. Meanwhile, Caleb's father, who had been silent all this time, spoke up. This is my fault. I never realized what kind of person my wife truly was. He turned to Caleb. You don't have to deal with this family anymore. Go live your life in peace. I'll make sure she never contacts you again. Caleb nodded and then looked at his aunt and uncle. Now about that $330,000. They stiffened. You expect us to give that brat so much money? Elodie grinned. Nice. I can buy a VBR bag and a CBR golf club set. Lucky me. I didn't always like her attitude, but this time I understood she was making light of the situation to help ease our stress. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law suddenly clung to Caleb's legs, sobbing. You're the only one I have left. Please, my dear son. But Caleb remained unmoved. If that were true, then why did you treat Judith the way you did? You didn't even care about her enough to leave her note untouched. No, you don't understand. Just listen. Enough, Caleb's father cut her off. How much lower are you going to sink? Elodie stood up abruptly. This is getting annoying. Let's go. We'll settle the money later. Goodbye. Without looking back, she walked confidently toward the door. My parents followed. Caleb took my hand, and we left as well. As we stepped outside, he sighed. Even though she's like this now, she used to be a normal mom. When we got home from school, she'd welcome us with snacks. It's sad that we won't be coming back to this house anymore. A week later, when I was feeling a little better, Caleb placed Judith's real suicide note in front of me. I was waiting until you were ready, he said gently. With shaky hands, I picked it up and read. I adore you, Elise. My illness is hard to bear, and I'm often in and out of the hospital. I feel like my mother doesn't care about me as much as she does for my brother. My father has always been affectionate, but you were the one I truly confided in. You were my emotional support. You kept me going. I know my parents have a considerable fortune, but I want you and Caleb to inherit my estate. If my mother gets it, she'll waste it. My father will understand. I hope this can help make you happy. Tears streamed down my face as I clutched the letter to my chest. Caleb wrapped his arms around me. Go ahead and cry. Let it all out. From that day on, I vowed to live happily for Judith's sake. I carefully saved her inheritance, knowing I would use it wisely when the time came. Meanwhile, Elodie settled with my husband's aunt and uncle for the $330,000. She immediately went shopping and even sent them a letter titled, "A Thank You Note for the $30,000." listing all the items she had bought. That was just so, Elodie, but no amount of money could erase the pain of being assaulted. Surprisingly, after everything, my relationship with Elodie improved. She even started inviting me out for meals. As for my mother-in-law, she spiraled. Her paranoia worsened, and she once mistook a stranger for me, screaming, "It's your fault Caleb left." The police got involved, and while she was given a suspended sentence, she became widely known as unstable. True to his word, my father-in-law took care of her, but never let her near us again. Now, with all ties to Caleb's relatives cut, we're finally living peacefully. Looking back, it was a terrifying experience. I feel sorry for my father-in-law, who was unaware of his wife's actions, but I will never forgive my mother-in-law for trampling on Judith's feelings. Caleb and I will continue forward, living the happy life Judith wished for us. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.